So here I'm going to show you how to design your logo into the design. So I've got a new document open. I'm going to start by double click on the grid and changing the grid spacing to 5 millimeters and clicking OK. So you can see my dots are nice and close together. I'm going to double click on my light tool and put a length of 240 in here because it is the length and the size of my prototype needs to be. Then I've got the grid lock on, so it's snapping to the little bits of the grid, nice and easy. The bottom bits needs to be 65. Click OK. And same here, click from one corner to the other. Because I've got grid lock on, it's snapping to the corners, nice and easy. And I can do the other ones by hand. And now I've got a rectangle. It's going to be where my sign goes for my prototype on here. I want to do 2 little holes in my prototype, so we can use a string to hang it if we need to. The size of the holes needs to be 2 millimeters. So here, clicking and clicking again, I've got one hole and double click. 2 millimeters, and I'm going to put them same on the other side. Click and click again on here, and I've got that positioned on here. So I've got my sign and the 2 little holes, and they're going to be cut out. I want to design a cloud type shape like we've had in some of the pop art type of signs and logos we looked at earlier on. So I'm going to use a circle tool here, just moving that a little bit to create that cloud shape on there. So I'm varying the size of my circles and moving them as I go along. So I've got an interesting shape coming up on there. So overlapping them. And the last one, let's move that a little bit. And maybe an additional one on here, so I got that nice and close. Then I'm going to put the delete tool. Make sure you've got the thing with the gaps on here, when you can click intersections and delete them. And now I'm clicking everything away to delete until I've just left with the outline on there. So that's done now. Now I'm going to select the whole shape and use a group tool at the top on here. So now I can edit that as a group. It's going to be much easier on there. I want this on the left hand side of my logo, so for now I'm just positioning it here and making sure I've got the right shape on here. So now I'm happy with that. I'm going to use a writing tool, so you need to get on the ABC on the side and double click on this. It's going to bring up a dialog box here. I'm going to type burger. And I'm choosing a font on here. I want a nice bold font because I want my sign to stand out. So I'm quite happy with this one on here. I'm going to leave the line and fill black on here. If you click through the color on here, you could change the color if you wanted, but for now we don't need to do that. So solid fill, and so we're going to click OK. And OK again, and position this. So if you need to change the size of your writing at this point, it's something you can do. Here mine is the correct size, so I'm just changing the position and placing it somewhere I think it's going to look good. Then the second part of my shop name is Junction, so I'm going to write that in there. Here I'm keeping the same font because I think it's going to look good, but you can have 2 different fonts if you want it. That is entirely up to you. Same, moving this to a suitable position here. It's a little bit close to the bottom, so I'm putting it a bit more central, so my design is more balanced. Now I'm going to go and get an icon for my burger. I want a black and white icon, and you need to also be careful when you choose your image. You don't want the ones with a checkered background like those on here. You want one with a solid plain black background on there. So it's important to choose something suitable. So I'm taking my time to choose a picture that I like on here. Not found any quite yet. Some are too complex, some are too simple. I like that one, but it's got a checkered background. I think that's a bit simple on here. I'm going to put JPEG to make sure they've all got a white background and make my search a little bit easier. I like this one, so I'm going to copy it and paste here. So now I've got this pasted on here. Then now I'm going to bitmap, set to black and white silhouette. Okay, and I'm going to adjust that. So we got that correct on here, and I'm going to set the background to transparent as well. A bit too much here. I need to lower it down. Background to transparent. Click OK. You can see my background's gone transparent now. You can see the little dots on there. So it's really important to set that up for the next bit on there. So now we're going to go zooming in a little bit so I can see a bit more what I'm doing. Bitmap. Okay, select your picture and then go on contour bitmap on here. Change the contour spacing to 0. Okay, and click OK. and it's creating a path on there. To see your path properly, you need to select the select tool and move your picture away. So the same, click in the middle and click again to the side to move that picture. So you can see I've got my burger on here. There's a little bit of a design problem with the kind of patty part of the burger on here. So I'm using the straight line tool to draw a line across where I want it to be. Then I'm going to use a delete tool to delete the extra bits of line on here to just improve and clean up my design a little bit on there. So making sure that I've got all the little bits deleted, so I've got a nice neat shape that's going to cut nicely with a laser cutter. So the quality of your manufacturing is going to depend on the quality of your design now. So you want to make sure you've got no gaps, but no extra lines either. So I'm going to click those extra lines away and clear that one up as well. Okay, so now I can see my shape is nice and clean, kind of ready to use on here. So I'm going to delete that picture and get my select tool and move this into my design, my sign on here, and adjust the size so it fits in nicely. So here I'm changing the shape of the cloud. You can see just parts of it slightly fiddly, where you're just going to move it ever so slightly to make sure your design is balanced and well. Once you're happy with the position, then you can move on. Here I'm going to use the little circle at the side. So if you click on the circle that you see on the side, you can rotate your writing. I think it's going to give it a bit more of a dynamic look, so I've rotated my writing slightly. Then I'm changing the fill color to transparent on here, so I'm just left with the outline. So I've got a nice laser cutter fine. I've got a little bit of a gap and some space on the right hand side here that I want to kind of fill. Here I'm choosing kind of a spiky star type of design on here, a little bit like in some of the pop art stuff that we've encountered earlier. So I'm deleted all the extra lines. Okay, and then I'm going to move this graphic. So same, click the circle and rotate on here. I think it's going to look better this way. And just want a bit of a dynamic look, a bit close to the little circle. That wouldn't work when you print on here, you can see. So moving that away to have that space nicely in a space where it's not bothering anything. So I think I've got a little bit too much spacing in places. So I'm putting this burger a little bit bigger and just moving and adjusting very, very subtly on here until I'm happy with the balance on here. So here that looks about right. So I'm going to get this ready to print or to send to the laser cutter. So I'm going to select all the outlines. Okay, so my outer rectangle and my two little dots, and change the line color to red on here. So you click on color, red, and click OK. And that should have changed to red. Here you see I've got two that are still black. So I'm going to select those two and change those two to red color, red, and OK. Perfect. So now I'm going to select all the lines on the inside and turn those to blue, because on the first plate I'm going to want the laser cutter to just engrave the top. So I've got a guide as where to put my final shapes and lines on here exactly in the same places. So now I'm going to copy the center design, move it just underneath on here and turn that line to red. So color, red. Okay, when I send that part here to the laser cutter, I'm going to want them to cut that. So I've got those letters cut out to create my sign prototype on here. So file, save as, file, export, and then the FX file. Here I'm going to logo for print and save. Okay, and okay, so that's now ready to send to the laser cutter. I also want a JPEG version of this, so I can use it in the AI tool to generate different types of signs and play with different colors on here. So here I'm gonna select, I want the one with the box, select the one with the box and copy, and then file new. I've got the file side by side and paste on here. I'm going to delete the two little holes because we don't need that for AI. And select the whole thing and turn that black again and export it. So now it's black, export, JPEG, this fine, and burger 2. Okay, and save. That's okay. And I will have now that file ready to work with.